So the first question, what in your past experience prepared you for this role with the Austin Sports Commission?
Yeah, so I spent the last 9 years with the San Diego Tourism Authority and Sports San Diego, which is the sports commission for the region. So really great experience there, leading a team that was able to do some really transformative things. So when the pandemic hit in 2020, we were basically given a task to help the sports commission break away from San Diego Tourism Authority because of hotel taxes, and funding was essentially shut off overnight. So that was a really unique opportunity to launch Sports San Diego. We assembled an advisory board of all of the leaders in the San Diego sports community. We took over 3 owned and operated events under our umbrella. We brought in, I think, 14 world championships in the 4 years I was there. So a lot of great experience. I think Austin and San Diego have a lot of similarities. They're very similar markets in a lot of ways. So definitely excited for this opportunity and see what we can do here.
So what about Austin appealed to you that made this the right opportunity?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. I think personal and professional. Starting professional, I think we all have seen the explosion and growth in Austin. Lots of new venues over the last couple of years with Q2 Stadium and Moody Center, and the stuff going down at CODA, and future improvements too with Mini Moody coming online and some other rumored venues as well. I think that's exciting. Like in the sports commission world, we are only as good as our venues. So the more venues that you have, the more possibilities you have to book special events. So I think that's really exciting, and there's a lot of unique opportunities that I think we can bring to Austin. On a personal note, my wife and I are both from Michigan. So San Diego is the furthest geographic place in the country from where our parents are. We have 2 young boys. So getting a little bit closer to grandparents, which will be nice, and getting back to Michigan more often is great. And I think Austin also is just a great community. So been really welcomed by everyone here. The staff here at Visit Austin, our Sports Commission board. It's been really warm and welcoming and inviting community. So that's exciting to kind of be embraced by that.
Right. How would you describe the current Austin sports scene right now?
I think it's growing. I think for many years it was kind of University of Texas dominated, and I think over the past 5 or 6 years it's really diversified, grown, new venues, new teams. I think there's a lot more growth to happen as well. I think some of those venues take time to book special events, so it doesn't happen overnight. So I think that's what's really exciting about this role, is that I don't think we've tapped the full potential of what can be done at Moody Center, what can be done at Q2 Stadium, some of these other venues that are rumored. So I think there's a lot of growth potential.
Well, you kind of led right into my next question. What role do you see the Austin Sports Commission playing in the continued growth of sports in the city?
For sure. I mean, our job is to book special events that drive hotel taxes, economic impact for the community, and also just help the quality of life of residents too, by bringing in some of these special events that locals can attend, tourists come in to experience Austin. So I think our role is just that. We work with all of the venues in town. We try to bring as many special events here as we can that fit the bill of what we need for the community. So last week we were in Las Vegas. Jordan and myself on our team met with 60 different rights holders that want to bring events to Austin. Professional events, collegiate events, youth events, kind of runs the gamut. And we go out there and work with our venues to try to bring as many of those here as possible.
What are 1 or 2 gaps in Austin's sports ecosystem right now, things that are currently being covered, promoted, that aren't currently being covered, promoted, or monetized?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I'm still learning, so this is week 6 for me. I've not fully moved here yet. I think there's a lot of growth that can be done on youth sports. So most communities around America, their tourism is driven by youth sports. I think 60% of cities in America, it's the number 1 driver of hotel room nights for them. So I think there's a lot of potential here with some of the venues that I've seen around town, that they're doing a lot of local programming, but I think you can book in traveling tournaments on weekends and holidays and things like that complement the local programming. So I think that's one of the things that it's kind of low-hanging fruit to start off, of how we can maximize some of those facilities around town to bring in more tournaments. And when we were in Las Vegas, I think we met with 7 or 8 different groups that I think we can make some of these happen as early as later this year or next year. And there's some growth there too. Town and Country in North Austin, they're breaking ground on I think a 60,000 foot indoor multi-purpose venue. So they'll have, I think, 8 basketball courts or 16 volleyball courts. So facilities like that can drive a lot of tourism. It might not make headlines or in the newspapers, but they're driving heads and beds and driving people to Austin for youth events.
What's one misconception, and I know you said this is this week, what's one misconception people outside Austin still have about the city as a sports destination? I mean, and I actually think that's probably a good question for you, considering you are an outsider, you're coming in to grow this, the city's sportscape. What made you think, oh, this is a place that should be a sports destination that can get even bigger?
Sure. I mean, I don't know if it's a misconception, but I think University of Texas is what people think when they think Austin and sports. I don't think they think much about Q2 Stadium, and we have an MLS team, we have CODA and an F1 race. So it's a much more diverse sports scene than I think a lot of people give it credit for. And I think that's continuing to grow and evolve and become a unique community for sports. So much more than just college athletics.
When you look at Austin currently, which team, venue, or event best represents where the city is headed in sports?
Can I get back to you in a year once I go to all of them? My first weekend here, I went to MotoGP, which was great. Fun to go down in CODA and see that. I also went to Round Rock Express opening night that week as well. But I think those are the two events I've been to so far. And seeing the MLS All-Star game here last year was incredible. My counterpart on my team in San Diego went to it, so I got to hear her feedback, and I watched it on TV, and I think Austin community did a great job with that event. So I think there's a lot more of those in the future with some of these new teams and venues that are here.
Austin has grown rapidly. What's the biggest challenge that comes with that growth when it comes to hosting and supporting major sporting events?
Yeah, I think it's not unique to Austin, but any community, when you see rapid growth, it's hard to get everyone rowing in the same direction. A lot of residents are resistant to change anywhere. We saw a lot in San Diego. So when you're trying to bring in a new event, you've got to make sure you have all the stakeholders in line and rowing in the same direction. So I think when you see a city like Austin that has had that tremendous growth over the last 10 years, I think it's just aligning all of those community partners to make sure events are well supported, well thought out. They're good for the community in a lot of ways. They're generating economic impact, but they're also benefiting local residents as well on quality of life. So I think that's really important. Me being new to Austin, our sports commission board, they're really all of the local leaders in the sports community here. They've been here much longer than I have. So when we're targeting different events, they're a really good sounding board for me to learn, what has worked here in the past, what hasn't worked here, maybe some potholes that I'm not thinking about being new to the community. But they've already been a tremendous resource as we're looking at some of these special events we're trying to bring in to help make sure that the community is aligned with them.
A couple more questions. One of them is, what do you think, or what do you pitch to outsiders besides Austin? I mean, Austin being Austin. What is one thing that's not necessarily sports related that's an appeal for people to come to Austin?
For sure. I think it's when you look at sports, especially on the youth side, what youth sports has turned into is it's really people's vacations. So when you pick a great city that has great music and barbecue and a lot of stuff to do, that's a lot easier to attract people to. I think San Diego was another similar city to Austin in that sense. We never had a challenge selling San Diego. I don't think we'll have a challenge selling Austin. It's just a unique, universally loved city that a lot of people have a lot of positive kind of ethos around. So I think that's a really big selling point for a lot of events, of just being in a cool, unique, fun city with a lot going on.
All right, last one for you, Nathan. Where do you see, let's say 5 years down the road?
Sure.
You've been here. Where do you see the sports market? Where has it grown the most? And just kind of give me a perspective of where you see the Austin sports landscape in 5 years.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, a lot of infill of you have these major venues kind of in different places. I think the calendar will continue to infill and we'll have a more robust kind of annual sports calendar here in Austin, layered on with these special events that we're hosting every single year. The MLS All-Star Game was a great example of that. How do we do those annually for different sports, different events, and how do we best utilize these venues that we have? They're great community assets. We'd love to bring more special events to each one of them, and how do we make that work with the existing calendar that's already here?
All right, very good. Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate your time.
Of course.